Today we're talking about how do I make my home more sustainable. So I'm going to start with the super low hanging fruit, and you should actually go check out the Oregon Energy Trust, or the Energy Trust of Oregon, I think is technically what it is. They're going to have all kinds of pointers, and you can take this sort of quiz, kind of like your Cosmo quiz, about how can I make my energy efficiency better. They're going to spit out all kinds of great ideas for you specifically, but I can give you some real small ideas that make a big difference. First off, if you've got that crappy fridge from the 1970s that won't die, I understand why you haven't replaced it, because that thing will last forever. But it is a hog. It consumes energy like you cannot believe. And the stuff that's in it is really bad for the environment. So you could consider getting new appliances. That's probably not low-hanging fruit, but that's a really good one. The really low-hanging fruit is, of course, LEDs. They're way less energy, compact fluorescent bulbs, also really low energy and last forever, and they're way better for the environment. Not when you throw them away, but when you're using them, to be clear. Other low-hanging fruit, I know this sounds crazy, but just turn up your fridge and your freezer like 1 degree. That saves an ungodly amount of energy over the course of a year, especially if you've got that 70s fridge. Definitely do that. But yeah, I've got my fridge. It's on like 39 and the freezer's on 2. It's not that big of a deal. Your food is not going to know any differently, but your energy bill definitely is. Other things that are a little more painful, of course, you can turn down your thermostat. My mother always used to say, put on a sweater. In my case, sometimes it's literally put on a coat. But, you tell me, if 65 is too dang cold, then probably you can't live with that energy efficiency. And then, of course, you get into the more expensive stuff. Adding insulation isn't that expensive, and it can make a big difference, especially if you have no insulation. If you've got like a 1920s home, adding any amount of insulation is going to make a big difference. So blowing in insulation in your attic is a really easy way to make it super more efficient. They literally get in there with like a big blower and just blow a bunch of insulation in the attic. You can also insulate your crawl space or your basement. You can insulate your hot water lines. All of those are going to probably be around $5,000 or less. So by no means inexpensive, but definitely not crazy expensive. And then, of course, everybody thinks of this one, getting new windows. Now, new windows don't actually raise your energy efficiency that much. They're beautiful, of course, and you can spend an ungodly amount of money on like triple pane wood clad windows. Don't do that. That's not actually going to add to your energy efficiency. We actually have in Portland this business. It's called Indo Windows, and I've recommended it to plenty of people, especially if you have like super charming, beautiful windows. These things are like super flexible storm windows that you can put on the interior of your window, and they're relatively inexpensive, and they greatly increase your energy efficiency. So I think I've given you like 6 or 7 great ideas. I mean, the 2 I would do today are switch out your bulbs and turn up your fridge. It's super easy. There's no excuse for not doing that. We all have to do our part to try and save our poor little earth. Anyways, it's always lovely to have you tune into our Home Happy Hour, and we'll see you next week. Take care.